All right, Nitro.
This goddamn show.
Number 143.
Somebody, every now and then I read the thread. There's a thread on the board about the retro shows, and people mention things about the shows coming up, and maybe it was you. Sometimes you tweet something. I don't know who tweets me, but somebody had mentioned...
Thanks for noticing.
Like, oh my God, the interviews on this show, or I'm so sick of the NWO interviews. Nobody could do justice. There were seven NWO/Wolfpack interviews on this show. Yeah. Minimum.
Yeah.
I stopped counting at 7. There may have been like 15.
Which is ironic because there are only 7 matches on this show.
There were 7 matches and 7 interviews.
3 hours.
And it went on forever.
Yes. Now, on top of that, I'm pretty sure if you took the entire roster combined, there was more alcohol consumed before and during this episode of Nitro than during any of our Christmas shows.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of crew there, but...
There's a lot of crew, and most of them are very large and can hold their liquor. But there was a lot of drinking going on. It opened with earlier today with Mike Tenay in the parking lot interviewing dorks about Sting joining the NWO. They were stupid, dorky teenagers. They thought it was cool.
They were
just loved it.
They were quote unquote tailgating, and they were hovered over to hibachi with 4 burgers.
Sounds like a good tailgate party to me.
That was how big the grill was.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Not the best tailgate I ever saw.
No.
I was at Fred Meyer the other day, and I bought a George Foreman grill. Remember the George Foreman grill?
I thought you had one.
Well, it was a long time ago. I don't know where it's at right now.
I see.
But I got the new, because I got a new one. You can buy the $29 one, or you can buy the $39 one where you can actually take the grill out to wash it.
Aha.
So it's like the grill plates detach.
Yes.
So, of course, I got the high-end one, $39.
That's how he rolls.
Yep, and
Top shelf.
I took this fucking thing home, and I'm like a cook now. Like, I totally forgotten. I don't know what happened in my life where I stopped using the George Foreman grill, because, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's not like, anyway. Point is, I got the grill. I started cooking again. I don't say anything that's going to get me in trouble. But
I was thinking the same thing.
I started cooking again, and, what do you think I was going to say?
Oh, it's not important.
No, tell me what you said.
Well, it's the most polite possible way to say it, so I don't want to get myself in trouble.
You thought that my wife would cook for me?
I think you thought your wife would cook for you.
No, I didn't. I honest to God didn't. Like, I never did. Because we have different schedules anyway, so we eat at different times. And I don't like leftovers. So I've always cooked for myself.
Okay.
I don't know why I got rid of the grill. Maybe because I actually had like a good oven and I could broil steaks and that sort of thing. But like the only thing I could cook was steak or bacon and eggs, or, you know, you get a pre-cooked thing that you can heat up in the microwave. So anyway, I went back to the days of my George Foreman grill, and this thing is awesome. I wish they'd have called me, because they called Hulk first, but he didn't pick up.
Right.
Then they got George Foreman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know 13-year-old Brian Alvarez?
Do you know that George Foreman made more money off his grill than in his entire boxing career?
I don't question that for a second.
That's fucking unbelievable.
I owned at least one.
I own 2 now. Whitney owned one in college.
Yeah.
I think everyone's owned one.
And I learned to cook.
I learned to cook too on this goddamn grill. Mm-hmm. I made burgers. I've made steaks. I've made chicken. It's awesome.
What does this have to do with anything?
I don't know.
You're talking about the
you're talking about the kids tailgating, and
they should have had a Foreman grill?
Yeah, because I could get 4 burgers on my Foreman grill.
Don't make an extension cord that long.
Yeah. Maybe that a battery pack.
Generator?
Or a generator, yeah. I love this grill.
These kids didn't drive here, let's be honest.
Anyway.
Their parents dropped them off.
These are the only fans Mike Tenay could talk to, and in hindsight, I have no idea why they bothered. So, we go to the arena. Nitro just started, everyone. It's just beginning. The NWO theme starts, then it stops, then the Wolfpack theme plays, and they come out.
First thing on the show.
You had one job.
Hey, listen.
Tony Schiavone.
This is better than last week when we had, like, that one horrible match. It was like Ernest Miller versus, like, Jerry Flynn or something like that.
Oh, we got some horrible matches.
Well, I mean, the first official match on the show was Yuji Nagata versus Jerry Flynn, so I think it's better they actually started out here with the Wolfpack.
So Tony Schiavone outright says, "Folks, we played the wrong music. This is why the crowd is not cheering as much as you might think." I swear to God he said that. That's not a quote, but it was very, very close. So this is the debut of Sting in his ridiculous all-red face paint.
Really? I didn't think it was that bad. Fit the gimmick.
I mean, it fit the gimmick, but...
he was white, and now it's red, because he's in the Wolfpack.
Yes. Doesn't mean it'll look good. So, let's see. They're in Detroit. It's Nash's hometown.
Can someone explain what looked bad about it? What didn't you like about it?
I thought he looked stupid with his face all red.
What do you think, Craig? Did he look like a clown?
You're certainly allowed to disagree
He
with
looked
me.
better with the white face paint.
I don't think it makes a goddamn bit of difference.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, he was doing the crow gimmick, and the crow gimmick isn't red.
That's also true.
Huh.
I said it fit the gimmick.
So
I just
now
said it
he's
looked
a
stupid.
Robin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That's fine.
Or he really bad cut himself shaving.
I don't think he shaved his hairline.
So Nash is cutting this promo. First of all, he says, we're in his house.
He's such an idiot. Like,
In his offense, he was sloshed.
where did he get the reputation for being like a good talker? I was cringing through this whole segment. He's sitting there. He's got his goofy outfit on. He's got a fucking hat that says porn star on it.
This happened.
He's trying
In
to be...
multiple segments, Kevin Nash appeared on Nitro with a porn star hat.
Kevin Nash is trying to be Conan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's think about that for a second.
it doesn't work.
It didn't work at all.
No.
And it got worse later.
So he said his house, and there he said, what did he say? So Nash says 5 years ago he thought about quitting wrestling, but Dallas Page talked me out of it. And now Page has to make a choice. He says, we took a vote to let Page in, and the vote was almost unanimous. And he turns and looks at Randy Savage, and Randy shakes his head and shrugs, and Nash moves on. At least they acknowledge that Savage and Page have been trying to kill each other just months ago, rather than just forgetting about it.
I like that he had to add that in his recruitment speech. You know, we'd like you here, but one guy wants to kick your ass.
One guy still thinks you
So
suck.
what do you think?
So Nash rambles on forever. Eventually his mic gets cut. We hear Hogan's voice saying it's time for the Wolfpack to get lost. Now either Nash cannot hear Hogan, which is quite possible, or Nash was so drunk he didn't process that Hogan's voice was in his head, which is also possible.
The bad thing is, in hour number 3, when they came out to cut another promo, he was more drunk.
Oh yeah.
Well, of course, you start drinking
He
and you
was-
don't stop until the show's over.
He was so hammered he could barely keep his eyes open.
So the black and white crew is up.
Can we talk about this crew? It's Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Dennis Rodman,
Yes.
and Bret the Hitman Hart.
That is the crew.
That was the crew at this point.
One of these things is not like the other.
It expanded later.
I would
but-
argue no two of these things are like the other. That's true. So they're way up in the rafters where apparently this is where Nitro set up their pyro controls.
Skybox, I guess.
I guess. Rodman starts hitting buttons. Pyro goes off. The lights go down. The lights come back up. They still have the Wolfpack's mic cut off, so they're just sitting there fuming.
Do you know how
Hogan's-
much money it costs to do pyro?
Thousands.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And they blew it up for nothing.
Yes. I don't know what Hogan
You
been
realize
doing.
Lanny Poffo had been under contract for 2 straight years now and hadn't paid or hadn't done a goddamn thing for that money?
They were literally blowing money.
They apparently have been partying all day. Hogan's
Yeah.
voice is already shot. And then Hogan says, for the second time, I guess another later he referenced going to a commercial. Both people on both shows said, let's go to a commercial now at some point during the night. But anyway, they went to commercial, and I thought, this is your top feud? Your angle for the top feud between the two top factions is we're flipping a light switch on and off? That's the best you can do?
Well, I hate to spoil it, but all of this bullshit on this show led to Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman versus DDP and Karl Malone,
Yes.
which was one of the biggest buy rates that they ever did.
Great.
So,
And you know what? It would have been one of the biggest buy rates without this stupid angle.
well, that's true.
And
But it didn't hurt it, is my point.
And it was here, by the way, when Hogan says, we're going into commercial now. So yes, Hogan and Triple H both calling the shots.
Yeah.
They go to break, and they come back. Conan is now interviewing J.J. Dillon. I didn't screw that up. Conan is interviewing J.J. Dillon.
This wouldn't surprise you if you ever listened to Conan on our show, where he at one point he just stops and he starts interviewing us.
That's
He
true.
flips the script
every
time.
single time.
That is true. That is true. So Conan wants to know what J.J. Dillon's going to do about the black and white. Dillon says, swear to God, it's not my problem.
Yeah. That's what he said.
He's just surrendering. Nitro is now a show to be fought over between the two NWO factions. WCW doesn't care. That's the story.
May as well. No one cares about WCW.
Jerry Flynn versus Yuji Nagata.
What an opener. It was a match. It wasn't terrible.
No.
It was not exciting in the least.
Have I mentioned? I think I have. If I could redo the Monday Night Wars over, couldn't you at least take Steve Blackman and Jerry Flynn and make them a karate tag team? So they have two boring karate guys as a team in one segment instead of spread out over multiple segments on either show?
You could.
Yeah.
They could have sold a lot of those karate fighters.
They should.
You know, if you were coming up in this business and there was a wrestler named Jerry Lynn,
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you choose a different name?
Jerry Lang. Yes, they had a Jerry Lynn and a Jerry Flynn. Yes. Anyway, Yuji won with a Nagata lock, and we've spent way too much time on this match. Shivani interviewed Chris Jericho, who called him Skiavone.
This segment was so awesome. How many times do we talk about a heel should sometimes make a complete idiot of themselves?
Yes. This was a perfect example.
Jericho had no problem making himself out to be the biggest dumb shit in the history of wrestling.
Chris Jericho, in this segment, was stupider than the Road Warriors on Raw.
That's true.
So Jericho says, I have a certified letter from Ted Turner. This letter will vindicate me.
He hadn't opened the letter out of the manila envelope that it was mailed to him.
He was just so confident. Because why else would Ted Turner get a hold of him? So it starts off all very professional and nice. I enjoy fishing in your home country of Canada. Jane says hi. You're a great champion. And he gets to the part that says, however, he actually did say, Dean Malenko should not be cruiserweight champion. However, your excessive whining and complaining has sickened me. So I must agree with WCW President J.J. Dillon in saying, tough luck, the decision stands, Dean Malenko will remain cruiserweight champion.
I can believe Ted Turner saying all of that.
Sure.
Including tough luck.
Especially tough luck.
And what's funny is, not only in storyline did this dumbass not read the letter before he came out on national television, but when he got to the bad part, he kept going.
He just kept going.
He couldn't stop himself.
He got more and more about how ashamed Turner was to employ this man and what a fool Jericho was. He just kept reading out loud into a microphone.
This is going to turn around the next paragraph. I can feel it.
Yes.
Now, they could have done this. Here's what's weird. They could have scripted it where Jericho gives a manila envelope to Shivani, and he says, read this. And I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to be so proud. And then, of course, it gets to the bad part, and then he wants him to stop, but Shivani's having so much fun, he keeps reading. This was better.
Oh, yeah.
This was 1,000 times better.
Because Jericho, he's an idiot.
His character is there at this point to be laughed at.
Yes. He's an idiot, but he's also completely shameless.
Yes.
He is so outraged by what he's reading that it doesn't occur to him to protect his pride and stop.
Yep.
He must continue.
It was awesome.
Shivani shows him no sympathy and then just throws it to break.
And I'm going to admit, I will flat out admit, when Chris Jericho first jumped to Raw in 1999, and everybody was talking about what a huge game changer it was, I didn't see it that big at the time. I look back now, and I see it. Now, granted, I've got 20 years of hindsight as to what Jericho actually became. Yes. But, man, oh, man, he was, aside from Goldberg, he was the best thing on this show.
You think?
Yeah. Now, Goldberg was better. Jericho better not deny that today. If he does, he needs to go back and watch more Goldberg.
And less of what we are about to talk about next. In 1,000 years, you could repeat this match over and over and over in perpetuity. It would never be any good.
Dude, this went 8 minutes.
No, it didn't.
It went 8 minutes and 4 seconds.
It went at least 20.
The four combatants. It was a tag team battle.
You got to talk about the teams, not just the combatants.
Oh, believe me, we'll break this down one at a time. Ron Reese, legit 7'2" or whatever, never been more than a TV jobber. Horace, a big oaf who has a job because he's Hulk Hogan's nephew.
Yep.
Van Hammer.
Well, first off, Horace and Reese are a team.
Horace and Reese are a team.
They're facing the team of
Van Hammer, who by this point had been around this company for like close to a decade. Never any good. And his partner, Juventud Guerrera.
It was Horace and Reese versus Hammer and Hoovy.
I just looked at it. I just looked at this matchup and thought, what could any one of these men do with any of the other men that I'd actually want to watch? And I came up with nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Every single person was horrible except Hoovy, who was okay for a little while there. It went on absolutely forever. They gave the hot tags to Reese and Hammer.
Yeah.
Hammer is a babyface. He performed the flat out most awful comeback I may have ever seen in my life.
It was really bad.
It was so horrible. And then, in the middle of this, as he's making his comeback, he ends up outside. Hoovy tries a springboard, not the legal man, I might add, unless there was something I missed. And Reese gives him the tree slam and pins him. Which, by the way, as I noted earlier, this finish was done to set up Hoovy versus Reese at the pay-per-view.
In a singles.
In a singles match.
What is Reese's beef with Hoovy?
I don't know.
He's
I've been
small?
wondering that for months now.
He doesn't like small men?
But only this one small man.
Well, you know, in the history of wrestling, they have done that angle many times. He doesn't like small men.
They're still doing it with Braun and Kalisto.
They're still doing it with the most powerful promoter in the world.
The only funny thing here was, well, there are lots of funny things. The only thing I will say that was good by design, Hoovy tried to pescado onto Reese and Horace. Two men who probably legit outweigh him by 600 pounds.
That's
it didn't
fair.
work. It didn't work. So Hammer does a dive on all three of them, and then he went down. That spot was good. Everything else was beyond terrible. It went forever. It was never any good. I like Tenay saying, you know, Reese probably outweighs Hoovy by 150 pounds.
Oh, yeah?
I spat. Could not believe my ears. Folks, I promise you Ron Reese outweighed Hoovy by at least 300 pounds, probably a lot more.
What'll make Reese matches more enjoyable is if you watch them and you imagine that he is a giant hornswoggle.
He is.
He looks exactly like a giant hornswoggle.
He has the Benoit arms.
It's very strange.
Very short. He has very strange proportions.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Now, I can't deny, this was not boring. This was...
Hogan backstage with his crew.
No, I'm in this match.
Oh, the match was not boring.
It was a spectacle. Nor was Hogan backstage with his crew. There's Hogan, there's Rodman, a bunch of good-looking women, cigars everywhere, champagne everywhere.
Brett's there, kind of hidden.
Brett's there, but he's uncomfortable.
Dude, I wonder why.
I like the way they set up a lounge area and they hung 2 NWO banners
Absolutely.
just for ambiance.
What I thought was most amazing was I'm pretty sure the second most sober guy was Rodman in this segment right here. Eric was struggling to stay awake.
Yeah.
Hogan is rambling. The girls are flat out asking Rodman to grab their boobs.
Yep.
Brett is hiding as far away as possible.
It has nothing to do with it.
Because he has to be pawn these women, so he's trying to stay off camera so he doesn't get in trouble or something. I don't know, but this was so terrible, and it was the first of like a million.
Yes. So Hogan runs his mouth. He makes fun of Nash's skinny legs. Everyone has a good laugh. Hogan's trying to cut this promo on Nash. Rodman, drunk, is pawing one of the women, and the ash from his cigar falls off onto her like in her lap.
Yeah.
It takes everyone, because they're all hammered, a few minutes to realize what's going on. Then Rodman says, oh shit, I'm burning this poor girl. He goes to swipe the ashes away as he's rubbing essentially her belly. She squeals, higher, higher, because she wants to get pawed by the worm. Hogan stops, totally thrown off his game, and I don't blame him. As many promos as he cut, as much as this old hat, this would have been new. Eventually, he goes back. Now he's trying to tell the story about all the illegal power bombs that Nash used, that Hogan paid for. He's going to sue him to get that money back.
No. He's going to go out tonight and take the money back from Kevin Nash.
I see.
He's going to go collect it tonight.
I see.
Gonna pick his wallet when he's drunk?
He promised.
Well, we saw that on the last show.
He promised a new NWO member who would be the second biggest star of the club, and they all made jokes about the talent.
Second biggest star in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Behind Hulk.
That was a lie.
It was.
I don't know how.
Shivani interviewed J.J. Dillon. So, as best I can gather, and I barely care.
I can tell you.
Okay.
So Sting and the Giant were tag team champions.
Right.
Yes.
Then the Giant, for absolutely no reason whatsoever,
Still no reason given.
joined the NWO. And then Sting joined the Wolfpack. And so they're tag team champions of opposite factions.
Right.
And so at the pay-per-view, they're going to have a singles match. The winner of the match will get both belts and be able to choose a new partner, and those two will be the new tag team champions.
Right.
How the fuck did I remember that?
I don't know.
I didn't even write it down.
That part's all pretty simple. The only complaint there is, shouldn't it be Giant and Sting choose partners and they have a tag match for the
Yes,
belt?
it
No. Well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, come on. It was
The first part of this...
triple threat match where partners tagged in.
That's true. The first part of this, there was something on Thunder where apparently Giant had challenged Luger to a match for the tag belts, and apparently Luger and his partner had won, and Judgy said, I was in Atlanta trying to cancel that match all day. My phone call didn't get through, so that match is thrown out. So, plans change.
This company sucks.
Hey, you know who else sucks? Scott Putski.
Yeah, but you know what? Eddie Guerrero had a decent little match with him. Although if you only get a decent match with Eddie Guerrero, you do suck.
See, I thought this was terrible.
Terrible. I wouldn't call it terrible.
Eddie got suplexed onto his head and shoulder and looked out cold. It turns out, I think legitimately he was scared to death. And once he realized he was okay, he just kept wrestling. And kept taking slams and suplexes. I just said, fuck that. We are doing wrist locks and shoulder tackles from here on out. So, let's see. Chavo comes out. Eddie runs away. Ref calls for the bell. I have no idea what the finish is.
Well, he ran in.
I guess they have...
And I presume that Putski got disqualified because he got mad at Chavo afterwards.
Okay,
Chavo ran in, and they disqualified Eddie, even though Chavo didn't touch anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Putski gets in Chavo's face. Chavo punches him out. Eddie is more scared than ever. This is a weird feud.
Well, yeah, but compared to everything else in this show, I kind of like it.
It's Chavo out crazy.
Yes, Eddie was fucking with Chavo, and Chavo has turned the tables on him. Now, Chavo has gone crazy, and he's got Eddie on the run. I like it.
So
I've seen worse, like the next segment.
We are now an hour or so into the show. Nash may have had a vodka IV. He was so gone. Nash and Conan are doing a promo. Nash buries Hogan's champagne, buries Hogan's women. Says, you're making fun of my skinny legs, but not everything's skinny. Whatever they said. He said he had a big dick. Talks about how many t-shirts they've sold.
I mean, he didn't really. He just said not all of them are skinny. So it could have meant he's got one thick leg.
I see.
And one skinny leg.
I see.
He meant his cock, but he's just...
Right.
He brags about how many t-shirts they've sold that night. Then he asks Robin, why are you hanging out with the white boys? Mr. Nash?
Does that rub off?
I don't know.
I mean, he meant the white and black, but
No, he didn't.
it came off much
I'm
differently.
sure he didn't.
He says he wanted
Nash
hey,
was confused.
Hey, black man, come hang out with the cool cats over here.
Yes. Then it was time for Bischoff and Giant in the crowd. Now, Giant, I think, was sober.
I think so.
Or he's just so huge, he can hold his liquor. Eric Bischoff.
He looked like he was gone.
He goes to talk, and he gets through it without any embarrassment. But then he has to hold... he's holding the mic for the Giant. Maybe he thought he was off camera. Oh, my God. He could have fallen asleep. His head could have fallen off. He may have just collapsed. Nothing would have surprised me.
When I looked at Eric, I don't know if it was this segment or a little bit later in the show, but it was like, I understand this.
Yeah.
Because every Christmas show, I hit a point where I feel like this, where like, I have like a massive buzz from all the alcohol, but I feel like I could die at any second. That's what he looked like here.
Yes.
Like, in some ways he feels really good, and in other ways he feels really bad.
He may have been...
And he knows he's going to feel worse in the morning.
He may have been contemplating suicide at this exact point.
He did not look good here.
So, Giant's cutting this promo on Sting, comparing him to an insect. Bischoff suddenly yanks the mic back. And he says, hey, you know what Sting's like? Sting's like an insect. And Giant says, that's right, Eric. And he picks up and just keeps going. This Amazing.
Show is so off the rails.
And finally, Giant, who, I remind you, I thought Giant was the sober one. Giant looks into the camera and says, "I'm going to pummel you to death right in the middle of the ring." Okay.
Remember, Eric's the boss.
I mean, that's the important key here. So, like, imagine being on top of the world and you've just come off, like, the most lucrative year in wrestling history for any promotion that's ever been on the earth. And all of a sudden, like, you're losing in the ratings and you're driven to alcohol and, like, now everybody's just got to be drinking. Like, is that the best strategy if you're trying to turn the ship around? Oh, man. There's the iceberg. Break out the rum. Get all the rum, and we're going to try and turn this ship around. But I got to drink the whole bottle first.
I'm trying to think of a company in any industry that has ever been turned around by massive alcohol abuse. I think it's a short list.
Probably very, very short. Like, everyone's drinking.
The people working there, Craig, not the customers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't know if alcohol is to blame on this next segment, but here's what happened. Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, and Conan came out for a promo. They're all in the Wolfpack. They're all buddies.
Yeah.
Rude cuts a heel promo on the fans.
Yes, he does.
They all run down Goldberg. Conan sucks up to the fans, vows to beat Goldberg. I was so confused by the end of this.
I'm sure they were too.
I had no idea. Booker T versus Chris Benoit in match 6 of the best of 7.
This show was so off the rails that when we had a good wrestling match, I barely paid attention. I was like, this is just a match. A really good one.
Is it me, or is this best of 7 series not nearly as great in hindsight as it was?
It does not hold up.
It's a bunch of good TV matches.
It's one of the rare things that does not hold up. You got to realize that Raw's 3 hours, and I mean, most weeks we get at least one really good match.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of bullshit, but if you watch Raw and you watch SmackDown and you watch the pay-per-views, if you only watch WWE, you're going to get probably one very good match every week on one of those shows. And for crying out loud, if you watch the Indies, if you watch New Japan, if you watch Evolve, if you watch Ring of Honor, I mean, you're getting good matches like this all the time. So looking back in hindsight, yeah, this was a good match.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the fans had seen this match before.
That's the other thing.
It
does not feel like
they had, in fact, seen it 6 times before.
Well, and many times before that.
Not to mention, it's not that the match is bad. It's that, okay, we saw this last week.
Yeah.
And we saw this the week before. We're done.
So Stevie Ray came out to give Booker a pep talk, which worked, and he fired up. And Benoit cut him off, and then Booker had a twisting sunset flip out of the corner for the win. Series is tied at 3-3. And Benoit jumped Booker after the match, but Stevie made the save. Hogan's back on the couch.
Oh my God. If you thought the show was off the rails, will you hear this one?
He advises Conan not to drop the soap, hanging out with the Wolfpack. Hulk Hogan made fun of Randy Savage for being bald.
He sure did.
So he reveals his surprise, which is
His first surprise,
which is Miss Elizabeth. And she comes down and she nestles into the couch between Hogan and Hart. And Hogan's going off about having what Savage used to have. And he leans over and he kisses Liz like on the cheek and neck. And Brett like leans over and kind of squeezes her knee. Because he's got to do something for the story, but he doesn't want to do anything. So she's...
The storyline here is that, if you recall, recently, like, they spray painted Liz and humiliated her.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Well, now she's their whore.
She's there to fuck them. They said, Liz, come join our crew.
This is the storyline.
Yeah, come join our crew. Brett and I will tag team you.
No, all of them.
Or all of them.
Eric later.
That's true.
She is being whored out to the NWO Black and White.
She joined them to be their object.
Yep. That is the storyline.
Don't get mad at us. That's what happened.
That's exactly what happened. We're probably being nice about it.
Now, here's the thing.
She's fine with it.
Well, okay, here's one of the things. There's a million things. So, Hogan's talking about having what Savage used to have, and the announcers are like, oh my God, Randy Savage is already dangerous. Now he's going to flip his lid.
True.
Like 2 weeks ago, when she was in the Wolfpack, Lex is in the ring talking about fucking her in the back of the limo with all the other guys.
Yep.
And Savage didn't care then. Why is he going to care now?
She is the NWO.
Apparently.
She is the NWO bicycle.
Apparently, the only people who realized this were myself and Randy, as we'll get to. Norman Smiley versus Fit Finley.
They had a decent match that was met with boring chants and the wave.
This made me sad.
A passionate wave.
And then
it made Finley angry.
Tony Schiavone, just in the nicest manner possible, says, you know, they do the wave at all sorts of big sporting events. Why not Nitro?
That's what he said.
Well,
he did his best.
He tried.
It wasn't his fault.
He was trying very hard.
They were having such a good match, and these fans could not have cared less.
No. They wanted more to hear about who Liz was fucking.
I don't think so, Vince.
Finley hit a rolling fireman's carry and a tombstone for the win. Schiavone calls out Stinger for an interview. Maybe the only actual newsworthy thing on this entire show.
This is where the show fell off a cliff.
Sting's entire body language has changed. He's relaxed. He is comfortable.
This started last week.
He's talking.
When he first joined the Wolfpack, he was smiling. He was happy. He was in a great mood.
So he talks here. He gets to talk finally. He begins by calling the Giant fat.
Good thing there was no Twitter back then. Can you imagine the anti-bullying campaign that people would have started versus poor Sting right here?
He says, at the first bash, I had blonde hair. I was a nice guy. I was kind of a brat, but I was beating up big guys just like you, Giant. Now I got long hair, I'm a seasoned veteran, and I'm a whole lot meaner. He says Giant needs to quit the champagne and cigarettes because he's out of shape. And whether it takes the death drop or the death lock, he owns the Giant at the bash. And he turns to Tony, goes to him the mic and says, thank you, Tony. It's nice to talk again.
Show is a disaster.
Zero fucks given.
I mean, people really need to go back and watch this show if they think that WWE is going down the tubes now. I mean, yeah, they fuck a lot of stuff up, but it ain't nothing like this. This is a mess.
Schiavone calls out Roddy Piper for a promo.
Oh, my God. I was so sick of talking. Jesus Christ.
This was a talk show.
And it was a third straight week. It's like, I get it. The first week that Roddy and Randy Savage cut promos on each other, like, it was good. We didn't need to do it a third time.
Mm-mm.
So Piper comes out. He sucks up to the local sports teams. In theory, a good plan, but it backfired here because Detroit's hockey team is in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now the fans care about is the hockey team. Chanting, go Red Wings.
He's burying Randy Savage in the middle of it. He calls Randy Savage, and he says this with such an air of gravity. Randy Savage came from a test tube.
That's what he said. Like it's a terrible thing.
And then he pauses because he's waiting for the reaction from the crowd for his brilliant line.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there.
He is upset that Dennis Rodman was wearing plaid, so there's no Scotsman with green hair. He talks about Rodman spilling cigars on women and asks, hey, Rodman, have you gotten any mail lately?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a gay joke, a Karl Malone joke.
I think it's a Karl Malone joke.
Yeah.
It's Roddy Piper, so I guarantee it's a gay joke.
Yeah. So Savage comes out. They're yelling at each other. Savage declares, I am not a mark.
This is where Bischoff looked like he was about to collapse. I wrote it in all caps. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So they're yelling at each other. Savage says, we're in Detroit. It's murder city. Let's fight. And Detroit says, yay, we all kill each other. Yay. So Hogan and Bischoff appear up in the skybox or whatever, repeatedly call Piper and Savage girls, repeatedly call them sissies. And Hogan says, Eric, I got a gift for you. Miss Elizabeth is all yours. And he pushes Liz into Eric, and Eric Bischoff takes his employee and kisses her hard on the mouth.
Oh, man, he was just going to town with Liz.
And Savage did exactly what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
He just says, Liz, I got over you a long time ago. Then he says, Hogan will never get over you, and Piper, I'm not over you. And he punches Piper in the face. And they start brawling, and Hogan and Liz and Brett and Eric having a hearty laugh. This laughter was the most emotion I ever saw from Liz.
Yep, Piper and Savage, absolute idiot baby faces. Just the biggest
bumbling fools.
Goddamn idiots. And we must not forget Hulk Hogan for like the fourth straight fucking week. He's all about Viagra. He's handing off Liz to Bischoff and says, "Unlike you, Randy, we don't need no Viagra." It keeps going on and on about how Savage couldn't steal the deal. He needs Viagra, like over and over and over again.
They replayed Mr. Jericho going to Washington from last week.
It was awesome. They should have replayed it.
Jericho then confronted Malenko on Thunder. He brought up the memory of Malenko's dead father, and so Malenko waffled him with a belt.
As he should have.
Yeah. Dean Malenko versus Disco Inferno.
Oh, boy.
I have never seen anything in my life as physically revolting as Disco Inferno's pants.
Absolutely.
Pea soup green and powder blue
Yes.
and white and oh so very, very shiny. I have no idea what else happened in this match. I tried to pay attention to what's going on. All I could do was look at Disco's pants and cringe. I can tell you Dean won with a clover leaf. That's all I have to say.
I know that Brian's been harping on the fact that Disco has been more serious lately. This match, he was a bumbling fool, and he got pinned. Or he got...
Well, he wasn't dancing the whole time.
If you say so.
He was facing a very, very angry Dean Malenko just beat his ass.
Just in these pants, you couldn't take him seriously.
I couldn't process it. I just felt like I just got lost in the pants.
Wow.
More with Hogan and the women.
That's what he said.
Excuse me?
And he got lost in pants.
That may have been the wrong
In
choice of
Disco's
words.
pants.
I got lost in Disco Inferno's pants.
Get that
So
drop.
Hogan shows footage from Hollywood where he's on a movie set with hair. And I guess the giant star he was talking about was Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott Steiner is going to be the next big Hollywood superstar. He's going to be number 2 behind Hogan. And Hogan's got him on the set. This was not the big Papa Pump of years later. This was a very shy, very nervous Scotty Steiner. This was Scott Rex Steiner.
Yeah.
Just hanging out among all these stars, starstruck.
Goes to meet Carl Weathers,
Oh, he's all quiet.
Apollo Creed, and Predator. And Apollo's like, man, look at these arms. They're huge. And Scott's like, thanks, man.
That's exactly what happened.
Goes to Shannon Tweed. It was Shannon Tweed, yeah.
Yes.
And then he's just shy around this woman.
Well, that is Gene Simmons' wife.
Not then. Back then,
What would Scott Steiner care? Gene Simmons going to beat his ass?
if you know anything about Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed's relationship, I think he would have been okay.
And I shot him.
Yeah. Well, no.
What are you talking about?
Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed had an open relationship for years.
Okay, yeah. So what would Scott Steiner be worried about?
Gene's a very powerful man.
But he doesn't care.
Lots and lots of money.
So he'd have Scott Steiner shot. Is that what you're saying? I was right.
Regardless,
He was superstar Scott Steiner as well.
superstar Scott Steiner was
That
his
lasted
name.
no time.
No.
They go back to Hogan on the couch. Hulk Hogan is so drunk, he refers to himself as Hogglewood. Steiner
How did
shows...
Hornswoggle never steal that?
Don't know. Steiner shows up. Hogan bungled his name as well, and nothing happened. And here's where I ask myself, is this show ever going to end?
It's terrible.
I think this is where he got the idea for Big Papa Pump, because he sat down between the ladies and looked like he was enjoying himself.
Well, he was Big Papa Pump last week. I hate to kill you.
The over-the-top Big Papa Pump.
I see.
That you were just
I thought you meant the
about.
names.
See, he got a confidence boost here.
Yes.
The
Yes.
attention these females
I
are paying
see.
to him. Goldberg versus Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Can I say it again? A delight.
Absolutely.
Goldberg now main eventing. And this came off like a legit main event, even though everyone knew it was going to happen. Goldberg mauled him like a polar bear, speared him, jackhammered him, and won. Everyone was going crazy, including Uncle Eddie, who was standing on the ramp marking out. This was a win.
This was almost as fun as the La Parka match. Like every Goldberg match now is like the highlight of my week. Just coming out here and mauling these idiots.
The pop in this arena.
Yeah.
When
After
Goldberg hit the
3
spear.
hours of utter bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
They were chanting his name before, like, intros.
all these crazies nowadays that get on me on Twitter and I complain about something and they try and defend it. And I always hear, well, of course, like the crowd doesn't care in hour 3. They've been sitting there for 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. This show is 3 hours. And this show was worse than any Raw this year. And Goldberg came out at the end and they lost their shit.
Yeah.
It ain't the length. It's that this guy's over and no one's over like this nowadays.
So the Wolfpack came out again. Lex and Sting just howling with laughter as they come down and make their way to the ring. They don't care what's going on. They're having a good time about something. If I thought Nash was drunk before,
So trashed.
legit, how did he get down to and into the ring without assistance? Slurring, mumbling, calls out DDP, says, come get your t-shirt. So Shivani interviews Paige on the ramp. Paige says, Nash, you and me were friends back in the day, and I see you've got a new set of friends in the Wolfpack. And everyone in the Wolfpack's great, especially your new friends Lex Luger and Sting. And now you want me to join. And then before he can get any farther, Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman attack him with chairs. It took a while, but Sting and Conan eventually made the save and chased them away. That's how it ended. That show was long.
If I ever, for whatever reason, say, I want Dennis Rodman to hit me with a chair, please, somebody stop him and stop me and wake me up. He killed him with chair shots.
Hey, gotta lay it in, brother. I'm sure DDP told him to lay it in. And again, sets up a classic. Maybe not an in-ring classic.
No.
But a famous match coming up here soon at Bash at the Beach. And that's it, everybody. That's Raw and Nitro. This Monday Night War. At least this week, it was very exciting. These were not boring
It
shows.
was entertaining for sure.
Let me tell you something. If Nitro's boring next week, I'm going to hope they go back to this. Because this was at least exciting.
Kinda.
With a lot to talk about.
It gave us a lot to talk about.
I could have done without 9,000 talking segments.
It gave us a lot of material for this show. That is true.
That's what I'm getting at here. All right, everybody, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with a lot more. I'll be back at Observer Live, The Filthy Tom Show, Observer Radio, with a very special guest, which you can look forward to, and a lot more. That's it. Check it out. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.